I went on what the movie advertisements refer to as a roaring rampage of revenge. When I arrive at my destination, I am gonna kill Bill.
And there are plenty of people, including Bill, who know that the bride won't stop until all the people on her hit list are eliminated. They're the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad who gave her a near-death experience in the first chapter. That was just before her wedding. Uma Thurman returns as the stunning Black Mamba. Bill is her former lover and mentor and ultimate target.
This moment, I'm looking at the most beautiful bride these old eyes have ever seen.
Are you gonna be nice?
I've never been nice my whole life. But I'll do my best to be sweet.
There are sensational visual tributes to the kinds of films that director Quentin Tarantino holds sacred. He initially had Warren Beatty in mind for the Bill character, but David Carradine's presence echoes the director's obsession with the kung fu genre.
Now remember, no sarcasm, no back talk. At least not for the first year or so. You're gonna have to let him warm up to you. He hates Caucasians, despises Americans, and has nothing but contempt for women.
A flashback shows that Bill arranged for his aspiring henchwoman to study with the ultimate master, Pai Mei. That was a big mistake.
You've got to start becoming afraid of her because she is coming.
That woman deserves her revenge.
One condition. She must suffer to her last breath.
The women rule again in this volume, with Daryl Hannah underestimating her assailant's rage. We get more character insights and we learn the roots of the rivalries. This is a terrific movie, as exuberant and funny as it is action-packed. Quentin Tarantino is at the top of his game, and he's come up with a second chapter that I think is even better than the first. You might want to get the DVD of Kill Bill Volume 1 to get the full impact of both movies, or really, it's just really one long movie. Tarantino's enormous passion for cinema is evident in one of the best movies of the year. I give Kill Bill Volume 2 4 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
The night is young, the skies are clear, so if you wanna go walking, dear...
The Lovely is a jubilant celebration of Cole Porter's career and life. The story is advanced with the exceptional songbook of this prolific composer, and Kevin Kline gives a superior performance as the musician who was elegant and charming, but also self-absorbed and remote.
Let's do it. Let's fall in love.
Porter's ambitions weren't focused until he met his wife of over 3 decades in Paris. Ashley Judd plays Linda, a free-minded American heiress who would make his dreams come true.
I have spoiled you, but so has the entire world. Just don't put us in jeopardy.
I can't promise you that.
The film deals candidly with the composer's homosexuality. Linda's love was unconditional, but it was a constant challenge for her to look the other way.
But I have other interests.
You mean men?
Yes, men.
Let's just say you like them more than I do.
After conquering Broadway, Porter's success story continues in Hollywood. Generations still applaud the songs immortalized by the movies he set to music.
Be a clown, be a clown, be a clown.
Director Irwin Winkler gathered an impressive group of popular singers to interpret the Cole Porter standards. The performances are sublime and full of surprises from artists including Elvis Costello,
There's something wild about you, child, that's so contagious.
Diana Krall,
Just one of those crazy flings. One of those bells that now and then rings.
Alanis Morissette,
I see your eyes do it. What's the use of my
and Natalie Cole.
every time we say goodbye?
This is a musical with heart and history and an amazing soundtrack. The Cole Porter lyrics for those grand, enduring classics reflect the life story of a gifted, complex artist. He's driven by his music and by his need to live life without compromise. The appearances by all those modern singers bring the songs to life, and the title says it all. It's The Lovely. I give it 3.5 stars. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. I, Robot is set right here in Chicago in the year 2035. Mechanical helpers are a crucial part of the landscape, and the U.S. robotics company is about to launch a new fleet, 1 robot for every 5 people. The startling death of the robot designer brings in Detective Del Spooner, played by Will Smith. He thinks the robots are turning on their creators.
Think of me as your friend.
Bridget Moynihan is Dr. Susan Calvin. She's the corporate psychologist who's helped give the robots human qualities, and she can't believe they're capable of revolt.
A robot can no more commit murder than a human could walk on water.
Well, you know, there was this one guy a long time ago.
Spooner is sure that a robot named Sonny is the culprit, but his malfunction may be the tip of the iceberg.
Hell, I don't want my toaster or my vacuum cleaner appearing emotional.
I did not murder him!
That one's called anger.
The movie is based on a book by the famous sci-fi author Isaac Asimov, who expressed the 3 laws of robotics. 1, they may not injure a human being. 2, they must obey any orders unless they conflict with number 1. And 3, they must protect themselves unless that violates 1 or 2.
You know what they say, laws are made to be broken.
Spooner suddenly finds himself the target of robotic insurgents everywhere.
You are experiencing a car accident.
The cop's disdain for high-tech is echoed in his encounters with man and robot alike.
Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Can you?
I suppose your father lost his job to a robot. I don't know, maybe you simply would have banned the internet to keep the libraries open.
I was disappointed with iRobot. I never really felt the threat of these robots. They just weren't terrifying or chilling enough. They were more like a swarm of ants, and that means they weren't very effective villains. The concept of technology running wild is a good one, but I've been more outraged by answering machines than I ever was by these robots. So I only give iRobot 2 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. The publicity for Catwoman hails it as a story of female empowerment, of a woman's scorned revenge, but right from the start, it's clear that anybody with Halle Berry's looks doesn't have to go feline to discover her power.
Your incompetence is staggering.
Patience Phillips is the wallflower who puts up with abuse from her cosmetic king boss.
I'm sorry for every second I wasted working for an untalented, unethical egomaniac like you.
She discovers a dirty little secret about the company's product that promises eternal youth but delivers horrible side effects. So the firm murders Patience, whose body is found by a magical cat that turns her into Catwoman.
You died, but you were reborn.
Frances Conroy of 6 Feet Under is the wise cat scholar who sheds some light on what happened.
Catwomen are not contained by the rules of society. You follow your own desires. This is both a blessing and a curse. You are a Catwoman. Every sight, every smell, every sound, incredibly heightened. Fierce independence, total confidence.
Sharon Stone is the villainous tycoon's venomous wife. She was his top model until she made the mistake of turning 40.
Quit the self-tanning. Stop eating Viagra like they're vitamins. Resist the urge to date children born the same day they invented the cell phone.
The femme feline has some payback for stuff, resulting in the obligatory catfight. This movie has so many missed opportunities. Why not show us what it really felt like for Patience to come back from the dead and discover she's a cat, and a ferocious one? Catwoman is really bad. It's such a letdown. Halle Berry kicks up a storm and looks beautiful and sexy while she's doing it, but that's no big deal. This woman would look stunning if she were shot with an Instamatic. I want a little more depth and insight, better characters, better action. Berry didn't get the substance or vitality in this role to equal her presence and talent. Catwoman is a big disappointment, and I can only give it 1 star. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
This is a coup. This is rich people funding bad science to put a sleeper in the White House.
A presidential campaign is underway in the Manchurian Candidate, and there are disturbing events going on in the back rooms. Liev Schreiber is a war hero whose ambitious mother bulldozes him into the #2 spot on the ticket.
And we can either shovel them the same old sugar, or we can arm them. We can arm them with a young, vibrant vice president. We can give them heat, energy, give them a war hero with heart.
Meryl Streep is chilling as the candidate's ruthless mother. She's a senator who will go to any lengths to get her son into the White House. Congressman Shaw served in Kuwait and saved his fellow soldiers during an ambush. Or did he? Denzel Washington is Major Marco, part of the mission, and he's having nightmares about what really happened.
Somebody got into our heads. Neurons got exposed and circuits got rewired.
The release of the film, which climaxes at a political convention, clearly coincides with the Democratic convention this week. It makes timely implications about corporate influence on the White House, on terrorism, and on war. The late great director John Frankenheimer's original version came out in 1962. His classic has just as much edge and cynical perception now as it did back then. This is a masterpiece with an extraordinary performance by Frank Sinatra in the role played this time by Washington. The current filmmakers include director Jonathan Demme and producer Tina Sinatra. They wisely give this version a different take on the plot and make casting choices that won't have you constantly thinking about the original.
You don't think they factored you in?
The original Manchurian Candidate has more mystery with heightened suspense and danger that are hard to match, but this version works well as a thriller, and it did keep me guessing at the end. The performances are very strong. Denzel is convincingly obsessed, and Meryl Streep's possessive mother is as scary in her own way as Angela Lansbury was in the first movie. I give the remake of the Manchurian Candidate 3 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Hello, Captain. Do you remember me?
My misadventures with Vincent Gallo started over a year ago at the Cannes Film Festival when his movie bombed big time. I declared The Brown Bunny to be the worst film in the history of the Cannes Film Festival, and so did many other critics and the loudly booing audience at the press screening. Gallo struck back. He put a hex on me that was supposed to give me colon cancer, but he claims he was misquoted. He actually cursed me with prostate cancer. Well, either way, his aim was bad because I'm now recovering from salivary cancer. He made some other nasty comments, but none of them were as painful as watching his movie. I admired Gallo's directorial debut, a movie called Buffalo 66, so the follow-up was a disappointment.
Do you remember the last time I saw you?
Now Gallo is showing a new and much improved Brown Bunny with 26 minutes cut out. He says the Cannes version was an unfinished work in progress.
Gold on silver.
It's the story of a lonely man's hopeless quest for a lost love, if he ever had that love at all. There's a much publicized explicit scene that's less about sex than about desperation. I was amazed by the recut Brown Bunny. The new version is surprisingly better. For me, it went from 0 stars to 3 stars. So I told Gallo he has redeemed his film, and he tells me why he lashed out about what I said.
To make the worst film in the world, or the worst film in Cannes history, you would have to go in with bad intention. Let's put Paris Hilton in Rocky VII and hire Joe Schmo to write it, and just, you know, that's the worst film in the world. Even my relatives in Buffalo heard I made the worst film ever made. What that does is, it doesn't qualify. Vincent Gallo may have been trying to do this, but I feel it didn't work. I was labeled, in a sense, a loser. If you create a perception to the mainstream that there was nothing purposeful about it, that's why I came out, that's where I lost my sense and became a more unreasonable person.
As we look back at it, at least it was not boring.
It was funny. It was funny.
I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Earth will be incinerated.
Enemy warships closing fast. We can't hold them off any longer.
They've broken through the perimeter.
A terrifying army of giant robots is thundering down the streets of New York, and the nation's most important scientists are disappearing. Sky Captain Joe Sullivan may be mankind's last hope for survival.
They're everywhere.
Holly Perkins is the intrepid reporter determined to get the story no matter what. It takes hooking up with Daredevil Joe, a guy who once broke her heart.
For once in your life, will you just trust me? Go left.
It's a dead end.
It's not supposed to be there.
Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow are a terrific team. They've got just the right chemistry and pluck to deliver the crisp and sassy dialogue.
You okay?
Great.
You don't look so good.
Pull up!
The heroes and villains will take you back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, Flash Gordon, or Buck Rogers. And even though the breathtaking images are all computer generated, the actors bring enormous heart and vitality to the story.
It's kind of a secret. You can keep a secret, can't you, Polly?
Yeah. I can keep a secret.
She's going to ram it.
It's suicide.
Frankie, pull up.
Angelina Jolie is ace fighter pilot Frankie Cook. She's just as impressive at the throttle as Sky Captain.
Joseph Sullivan. I was sure you'd be dead by now.
Frankie's got a romantic history with Joe, just like Polly does.
I've heard so much about you. It's a pleasure to finally meet the competition.
This remarkable film is from first-time director Kerry Conran. It's even more mind-blowing that these visuals were inspired by images created on a low-end Macintosh in his garage.
Dex.
Try shaking it.
Sky Captain is what going to the movies is all about. I watched in wide-eyed wonderment as each spectacular scene played out. It made me feel like a kid, cheering for the good guys as they achieve one incredible feat after another. Sure, it sounds corny, but it's fun, and it's such a visual achievement that I think grown-ups may actually like this movie more than the kids. I haven't had this much fun at the movies in a long time, and I give Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow 4 stars. It's one of the year's best, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
It's the highlight of the art scene here in town each October, the kickoff of the Chicago Film Fest. Founder Michael Kutza started it all 4 decades ago with 10 credit cards and a cinematic dream.
You overextend yourself in something you believe in, and then you slowly don't answer the phone for a while, and it works. It works.
On the red carpet, the host of opening night, ABC 7's own film critic Roger Ebert, who gave this festival a rating.
First in my heart. The most important film festival is obviously Cannes, and Sundance and Toronto are very important in terms of the industry. But this is my hometown festival, and I've been going to it for 37 years, and I've got a lot of good memories.
Oscar-winning actress Patricia Neal, who went to school at Northwestern.
I loved it. I went there 2 years.
The showstopper Liam Neeson, arriving to premiere his new movie, Kinsey. He plays the groundbreaking sex researcher.
Every scene deals with sex, and we're still a bit uncomfortable with it. I know I am when I see it or hear it been talked about on screen. So it's a controversial subject.
Kinsey director Bill Condon, who wrote the screenplay for the Oscar-winning movie Chicago, had these feelings about standing under the theater marquee.
It is so thrilling, I have to say, because I've stared at this marquee over and over again because it's the one shot that we shot in Chicago. So in a way, this feels like a belated chance to apologize to Chicago for the fact that the movie called Chicago was shot in Toronto.
Kinsey is just one of over 100 movies from 44 countries that will be featured during the 2 weeks of the festival, and you can't get better for stargazing in Chicago right now. Tomorrow night, Annette Bening is the guest of honor presenting her new movie, Being Julia. She'll be at Thorne Auditorium on the Chicago campus of Northwestern University. Saturday night, also at the Northside Theater, Christopher Walken. How cool is that? He'll be showing Chicago fans his new movie, Around the Bend. The film festival runs through October 21st, and on closing night, Oscar-winning director Robert Zemeckis will be honored. Chicago is his hometown. Tom Hanks will be here to take part in those festivities. Tickets are still available. I'm Janet Davies, ABC 7 News.
Conquer your fear! And I promise you'll conquer death!
Alexander really achieved, at 26, was the political leadership of the world. These young people owned the world. That has never happened again. We don't have young people. We don't trust them.
Colin Farrell has a reputation as a good actor who is also a good partier.
Don't ask me anything about Colin. I just can say no ill of the man. He's one of the greatest young men I've ever met in my life. He became Alexander. He bulked himself up. He was I'd say a tough, scrappy, black-haired, Tyrone Power-looking Irish barstool boy from Dublin. It's not easy, to be on a movie set for months and in front of a crew that knows you and in front of a cast and walk out every day and be the leader.
No man or woman could be too powerful or too beautiful without disaster befalling.
You moved outside the Hollywood routine and reinvented your attack on work, or your attack on your work.
I think I changed, yeah. Thank you. I mean, somebody remembers me. I understand the game better now. And it's tiring. It's very exhausting. And it's also, it does hurt, whatever people deny that. You're always being judged. And I think you feel like a slave at auction sometimes.
Even somebody with your track record, the executives are not impressed by you?
No, I think the contrary is true. I think that the bigger the whale, the less the harbors. I think that they're scared of images of me. Most people don't know me, frankly. They say I'm a monster. They say I'm demanding. They say I'm uncompromising. The opposite is true in the sense that I listen to everybody and I try to make it work.
In the end, all that matters is what you've done.
Well, the thing about you is you keep on plugging away.
I just really felt like I've got to make this movie live or die. And as we shot, because Alexander was, in some way, his spirit made me younger. But how could I do it again? I don't know. It'd be a tough trip. But after Alexander, it's very hard to find somebody equivalent in stature and in nobility.
I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Conquer your fear! And I promise you'll conquer death!
And I think in the end he conquered his fear of death. He was the most fearless man I've ever read about. But the film will be seen. It's going to open around the world, and I think that so many people know about Alexander, they're interested in it, they will see it.
The first rule of war is to do what you ask your men to do.
Alexander is the first king in history, Roger, who was seen by and evidenced to cry over his dead soldiers, to know each and every one, to weep for their families.
It takes strong men to rule.
All you desire, the world is yours!
Are there any parallels that we can learn from?
Alexander would have gone after Osama bin Laden. Alexander is famous for winning every battle, and he was ruthless at that point, and those were when the massacres occurred, and that worked.
You're here, George. This movie must have been physically grueling. I mean, when you contemplate a project like this, you realize that in addition to everything else, you are putting yourself on the line for a lot of hard physical labor. It's daunting. It's the biggest film you've made.
Pressure was huge to sanitize the violence and the sex and the storyline. If we give in to the American way of life completely and say we have to do things the American PG way, then we're because the rest of the world is going to become a PG Disneyland, and I don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone does. You resist those pressures or you don't. Most people have to cave. The system wears you down. It's not like you're a heroic you have to be heroic for 1,000 days. You can't be heroic one day. I mean, if you're going to spend 4.5 hours killing Bill, you got to grant that Alexander deserves some space,
Never will there be an Alexander like you. Alexander the Great.
I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. If you don't know about the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, then you probably don't have young kids or the Nickelodeon channel. It's silly, colorful, and fun, but not as appealing to adults as some of the other animated movies out right now. The Incredibles is already a mega hit, and I got a kick out of watching superheroes hiding out in suburbia. Kids may not get all the humor, but there's plenty to keep them entertained while the grown-ups take in the sly satire. It's not as big a hit, but the animated film I really love is The Polar Express. I'm predicting that this enchanting movie will become a Christmas classic. Some people find the images in this breakthrough animation a little creepy, and maybe they are, but in a haunting, mesmerizing way. Make it a point to see this in the IMAX 3D version. It's a captivating experience. I love Bridget Jones, even when she's on the edge of reason. Okay, so it's not as good as the original film. Renee Zellweger still brings this great, goofy character to life, and I had fun spending a few more hours with her. History buffs and those who enjoy epic movies have it all in Alexander. Colin Farrell plays the young conqueror. Angelina Jolie and Val Kilmer are his power-hungry, devious parents. And Oliver Stone directs the movie he's been consumed with making for 15 years. Kinsey is sure to get Liam Neeson another Oscar nomination playing the revolutionary sex researcher. This is a fascinating look at a man who changed American society by revealing our most intimate truths. Neeson will get Oscar competition from Jamie Foxx and his phenomenal performance as Ray Charles in Ray. Alfie is getting trampled at the box office, but you should see this very entertaining and equally thoughtful story of a man who loves women and can't stop leaving them. Jude Law is terrific. Speaking of boys who won't grow up, Johnny Depp gives yet another standout performance in Finding Neverland. It's the moving story of the author of Peter Pan and the family that inspired the magic. Other highlights to watch for in the weeks to come: Closer, about changing partners with Julia Roberts and Jude Law. Roberts reteams again with George Clooney and company for Ocean's 12. Barbra Streisand is back joining the cast of Meet the Fockers, and the one I'm really looking forward to is Aviator, with Leonardo DiCaprio as Howard Hughes. I'm always excited to see a Martin Scorsese film, and this one could be a highlight of the holiday season. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
It's nice all of us being here together, isn't it, Jack?
Closer is a sharp-edged movie about cheating in relationships and about four people who richly deserve one another. It begins in London with love at first sight between Jude Law and Natalie Portman. They've just met, but somehow the chemistry is perfect.
He valued his privacy. Gay. He enjoyed his privacy. Raging queen.
What would my euphemism be?
She was disarming.
It's not a euphemism.
Yes, it is.
Law writes a novel about their relationship and gets his photo taken by Julia Roberts, who he immediately falls in love with, even though he's living with Natalie Portman.
Do you and this Alice live together?
Then Julia Roberts falls for Clive Owen.
Did we meet somewhere?
Come on, don't play games, you nymph of the net.
Excuse me?
You were up for it yesterday.
Was I?
Yeah. Why do I feel like a pervert?
I think you're the victim of a practical joke.
In fact, these four people keep shifting partners in a series of betrayals and reconciliations. They spend a lot of time talking in the movie about being honest and telling the truth, but none of them is capable of a real commitment. When they're not with the one they love the one they're with. The movie was directed by Mike Nichols, who is merciless in showing that these characters get more or less exactly what they deserve. You can't say they get what they want because they don't know what they want. Closer is a lacerating look at the Me First syndrome. I give it 4 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. There's an old tradition that heist movies end with the heroes in retirement and sequels begin when they have to go back to work. Ocean's 12 is like that. It opens with the Las Vegas casino boss, played by Andy Garcia, paying personal visits on the 11 burglars who robbed him of millions of dollars. Julia Roberts is married to George Clooney, the head of the gang, and she sees trouble coming.
Oh no, Danny.
The original 11 realize they have to pay up or die. They hold a meeting to figure out how much they owe.
Based on what we stole, plus interest, how much does everybody owe?
$17.34 million.
How much is everybody short? How much you short?
14.
And among the stars you saw there were Brad Pitt, Don Cheadle, Elliot Gould, and Casey Affleck. Catherine Zeta-Jones has a lot of fun as the law enforcer assigned to track them down.
Nice room. You have it all to yourself?
You here to take me in?
Why would I do that?
Ocean's 12 is anything but a formula caper movie. It's more of an in-joke about caper movies. The director is Steven Soderbergh, who this time, as he did in Ocean's 11, has a nice, off-balance way of telling the story through eccentric dialogue and ironic reversals. The movie is sort of like a jazz riff on a traditional caper. There's one amusing scene where everybody deliberately talks nonsense and poor Matt Damon tries to figure out what they're saying. Maybe they aren't saying anything. Ocean's 12 is a lighthearted and sophisticated movie, more of a comedy than an action picture, and I give it 3 stars. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. This is the Howard Hughes you meet in The Aviator. He's a fearless visionary, and the sky was the limit for his most abiding passion. Leonardo DiCaprio captures the heart of a man compelled by dreams of flight. He broke speed records, gave rise to the Spruce Goose, and barely defied death in numerous plane crashes.
Howard, give us your position. 2,000 feet over, I don't know, Beverly Hills.
Hughes also brought his pioneering spirit to the big screen with movies including Hell's Angels. It was completed as a silent film, but then immediately he reshot it with sound. Hughes spent millions of his own money to get it right.
This is what the people want. Silent pictures are yesterday's news, so I figured we gotta reshoot Hell's Angels for sound.
How much of it?
All of it. Before you even ask, I'll tell you, an additional 1.7 million. We got that much?
No.
The other fixation in the aviator's life was beautiful women, especially movie stars. Cate Blanchett is outstanding as Katharine Hepburn. She's already nominated for some major awards, and I think she's going to be up for an Oscar.
You have to be very careful not to let people in, or they'll make us into freaks.
Jean Harlow and Ava Gardner were among his other romantic conquests. They're played by Gwen Stefani and Kate Beckinsale.
You can't buy me, Howard, so stop trying. Don't buy me any more diamonds or sapphires or any other damn thing. You can buy me dinner. How about that?
The unflappable producer was undaunted when the Film Decency Board objected to shots of Jane Russell's cleavage.
Claudette Colbert, Rita Hayworth, Betty Grable, and the lovely Miss Jane Russell.
Hughes was already becoming an obsessive recluse when called to defend his wartime interests by a crooked senator.
I'll have him dragged here to Washington. I want to see the whites of his life.
We are in a street fight, and I'm not going to lose.
DiCaprio does an amazing job of showing us the decline of this powerful figure as crippling phobias take over. Martin Scorsese is a director well-equipped to tell stories of impossible dreams come true and staying the course. He's achieved another visual masterpiece. We see the tortured spirit of a man who could challenge any adversaries except his own demons.
You have called me a liar and a thief and a war property.
Sometimes I truly fear that I'm losing my mind.
You couldn't make up a movie plot more extraordinary than the life of Howard Hughes. This is an enormous, remarkable undertaking from America's greatest living filmmaker. I'm predicting that this will be Martin Scorsese's biggest hit since Casino, and it's great to have him back at the top of his game. I give The Aviator 4 stars. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
She'll go faster.
Number 10, The Village, a colossal, anticlimactic mess from the accomplished director M. Night Shyamalan. This movie is horrifying, but for all the wrong reasons. Number 9, The Whole 10 Yards with Bruce Willis, who should have punted on the 9. Number 8, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Have you ever noticed how easy zombies are to kill in the movies? Why are they such a threat? Number 7, White Chicks, a truly pathetic gender-bender ripoff of Some Like It Hot. This time, the Wayans brothers dress up in debutante drag, but do you think anyone would believe that these are women or humans? Number 6, The Grudge. A bunch of Americans end up in a haunted house in Japan. People keep dying, but no one's smart enough to take the hint and not go in that house anymore. Number 5, New York Minute. A double disaster as the Olsen twins take a bite out of the Big Apple, and the result is rotten to the core. Number 4, Dogville, a movie as long as it was bad, with truly despicable, dreary people. Nicole Kidman, Lauren Bacall, and Ben Gazzara prove that even great actors can't save a dog of a movie. Number 3, The Girl Next Door. This is what I consider a truly offensive movie, especially since it's supposed to be for teenagers. A kid falls for his gorgeous neighbor who just happens to be a porn star. What a perfect date for the prom. Number 2, Christmas with the Cranks, a truly deplorable excuse for a holiday comedy. A family decides not to spend money on Christmas one year and go on a cruise instead, but they cave in under the peer pressure of their neighbors who torture them into mandatory jingle bells. And the worst films of the year, it was a tie on the battlefield of epics between Alexander and Troy. These aren't rock bottom in terms of how I rated them. I gave each movie 2 stars. Director Oliver Stone is great, but Alexander wasn't, although I must admit Rosario Dawson brought some redeeming qualities to the landscape. I was not convinced, though, that Brad Pitt as Achilles or Colin Farrell as Alexander could convince all those armies to follow them anywhere.
The gods have a way of punishing such pride.
No man or woman could be too powerful or too beautiful without disaster befalling.
I guess what really bothers me is that with the millions spent on Alexander and Troy, I had high expectations for some amazing movies. Some of the best films of the year were probably made for what they spent on Jared Leto's eye makeup. One thing's for sure, it's a lot easier to make fun of the bad movies at the end of the year than it was to sit through most of them. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News. I met him at the time that he made MASH. He was already, 40 years old then. The greatest career in modern American direction began at a time when a lot of directors are beginning to feel tired.
I'm not very happy when I'm not working, and so I selfishly try to keep myself happy.
In some very deep part of his soul, he wants to rent the old barn and put on a show. And he wants to invite his friends.
I had done the company here with the Joffrey. Then I come back, and now I'm doing an opera with the lyric of a film that I had made here in Chicago 25 years before that. And it seems to me it's full circle. It's starting to scare me a little bit.
That there isn't a film coming along from Robert Altman. What's the use of going to the movies day after day after day? You have to have something to live for.
Is that your car?
It's the Cadillac of hybrids.
But what about speed?
If you're important, people will wait.
Chili is still intrigued with show business, but disenchanted with the movies. Now he's ready to take on the music industry. His first discovery, a singer named Linda Moon. She's performing with a cheesy girl group in a dive. Christina Milian plays the singer who hooked up with a nasty crowd. Vince Vaughn is her manager, bullying Linda to fulfill her contract with his crooked agency. His real name is Roger Lowenthal, but he calls himself Raji and is a gangsta wannabe.
Come on, clown it, baby. You know I'll clown it. Turn around, because you know I clown it. Come on, players, stop hating. Stop hating. Stop participating. Stop participating, star. Come on, twinkle, twinkle, baby. Twinkle, twinkle. Sexual acrobatics.
Uma Thurman is Edie Athens, a widow with a struggling record label. She also provides an excuse to get Travolta on the dance floor again. After Pulp Fiction, it's what the audience wants, but it has nothing to do with the plot.
Baby, let's get to it, 'cause girl, you really got me going.
The gangster rap mogul Sin Russell is played by Cedric the Entertainer. Being brutal is part of the job, but he's G-rated on the home front.
Hey, y'all speak to my daughter.
Good morning, Deshaun.
Sin has a trigger-happy sidekick who keeps embarrassing him. You may recognize Andre 3000 of Outkast.
You only have to say nothing, I already know. Don't give me no gun, man.
The Rock is an imposing but inept bodyguard who is probably gay and certainly wants to be an actor.
See a guy like you and I say he's got the look, but does he have the talent? Oh, look at that.
Steven Tyler appears as himself. Chili's reputation precedes him when they meet.
The Shylock.
Yeah.
I saw you on Larry King. It was you and,
Ariel Sharon.
That was a hell of a show.
This is a cast full of almost cartoon characters delivering non-stop punchlines, and there are just too many cutesy references to the original film and to other movies, and not enough substance, I think. I know the clips look funny, and some people might be entertained by the one-liners, but to me, Be Cool is a sequel that takes a lot of effort to go nowhere. I can only give it 1.5 stars. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Be cool.
Don't tell me to be cool. I am cool.
It's the sense of touch. I think we miss that touch so much that we crash into each other just so we can feel something.
Crash tells intersecting stories about all kinds of people and their breaking points. These are horrifying examples of the way we can define others in a glance and sometimes with our worst instincts.
We the only two black faces surrounded by a sea of over-caffeinated white people patrolled by the trigger-happy LAPD. So you tell me, why aren't we scared?
Lorenz Tate and rap artist Ludacris spend their time debating issues of racism and then carjacking expensive rides. Sandra Bullock and Brendan Fraser are held up for an SUV, and the Hispanic locksmith called in after the attack triggers a meltdown from the fearful wife.
The guy in there with the shaved head, the pants around it, the prison tattoo.
Those are not prison tattoos.
Oh, really? And he's not going to go sell our key to one of his gangbanger friends?
Don Cheadle is a detective who thinks all Hispanics are alike, including his girlfriend.
How about a geography lesson? My father's from Puerto Rico. My mother's from El Salvador. Neither one of those is Mexico.
Well then I guess the big mystery is who gathered all those remarkably different cultures together and taught them all how to park their cars on their lawns.
Matt Dillon gives the strongest performance of the ensemble. He's a bigot with a badge and doesn't hesitate to abuse his power.
I can't look at you without thinking about the 5 or 6 more qualified white men who didn't get your job.
It's time for you to go.
Now, I'm saying this because I'm really hoping that I'm wrong about you.
An affluent black couple is easy prey, with Tandy Newton very good as the violated wife.
Closest you ever came to being black, Cameron, was watching The Cosby Show.
Yeah, well, at least I wasn't watching it with the rest of the equestrian team.
Yeah, you're right, Cameron. I got a lot to learn, because I haven't quite learned how to shuck and jive.
Every one of these characters has the potential to release the ugliest demons of racism and also the potential to rise above hatred. Emotional explosions give them a shared experience of being helpless and forced to start all over again. I give Crash 4 stars. It's one of the most intriguing movies of the year. And I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Just so you know, the crying bits are getting old.
Just so you know, Kevin likes his girls thin.
Oh, well, I could always get liposuction. I've been meaning to ask, is it painful?
I've been following Jane Fonda's career since we met on the set of Barbarella nearly 40 years ago. She's made some great movies, and I've admired much of the work Jennifer Lopez has done so far, so teaming them up might have seemed like a great idea, but Monster-in-Law is not a great movie. A hotshot surgeon meets a gorgeous dog walker on the beach, and they fall in love. Now it's time to bring her home to Mom.
Oh, hi.
Fonda is Viola, a TV journalist who's been put out to pasture for refusing to jump on the pop culture bandwagon. Viola loses her job, but she's determined not to lose her son to a Latina temp.
Oh, Holy Spirit, surround me with light. Please rid me of my negative karma and my wickedness. Please help me be a better person. Oh, I could just kill that dog-walking slut.
Wanda Sykes is very good as Viola's wisecracking assistant. She knows her boss is fighting a losing battle.
What about promiscuity?
She's had fewer lovers in her entire life than you did at closing day of Woodstock.
The punchlines and sight gags are non-stop, and so is my disappointment about this movie.
Marriage is a sacred union that should only be entered into with the utmost care.
Weren't you married 4 times?
Yes, dear. Which would make me an expert, don't you think? How many men have you been sexually active with? What? That many, huh?
What a wasted opportunity this movie is. It's Jane Fonda's first film in over 15 years, but it's not worth the wait for her or for the audience. Fonda and Lopez both have a lot of talent and screen presence. What a shame these actresses weren't given characters or material worthy of them. I give Monster-in-Law only 1 star, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Come and get it, Grandma.
This is where the fun begins.
It really was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when the first Star Wars arrived in 1977. Now the series concludes, having forever changed filmmaking and redefined movie science fiction and fantasy. Hayden Christensen is the young Anakin Skywalker who is at a crossroads. He's proven himself as a gifted Jedi warrior, but the Masters of the Jedi Council want more proof that he can be trusted.
Is he not the chosen one? Is he not to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force?
So the prophecy says.
A prophecy that misread could have been.
Anakin has competing loyalties to 2 men who have been his teachers. There's his dear friend Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor.
The Council wants you to report on all the Chancellor's dealings.
That's treason.
We are at war, Anakin.
And Ian McDiarmid is Chancellor Palpatine, but the Council wants to oust him. He knows that Anakin is frustrated that he's not considered a Jedi insider and uses him as a perfect ally.
The Sith and the Jedi are similar in almost every way, including their quest for greater power.
The Sith rely on their passion for their strength. They think inwards, only about themselves.
And the Jedi don't.
Anakin becomes intrigued by the powers of the dark side, and as we know from the earlier films, he'll eventually be seduced and surrender his integrity.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
Twisted by the dark side, young Skywalker has become.
I feel so helpless.
We find out why twins Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia were separated at birth, and we also see Anakin's metamorphosis into Darth Vader with his signature attire. The energy and action are back full throttle in Episode 3, and I think fans are going to be elated with all the new plot twists. Now, okay, maybe you don't go to a movie like this for the dialogue, but I do think the script is too weak for this level of achievement. I want a poetry and eloquence in the dialogue that's more worthy of these characters, of their epic, and of their lore, but still, this is a grand finale, returning to the true spirit of Star Wars. I give Revenge of the Sith 3.5 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
You were the chosen one!
You may have a walk of fame in Hollywood, but every day you truly represent what is best of the Chicago skyline and what is best of our great history.
This morning, the City Council declared July 12th Roger Ebert Day in Chicago. A plaque will be dedicated in his honor under the Chicago Theater marquee.
I was there when it finally reopened in all of its current glory. It's a great theater. This is a great city. It means a lot coming from my hometown. I was born downstate in Urbana, but I moved here in 1966, so I've been here almost 40 years. It's my hometown.
And what a flurry Roger caused in the council meeting. He and his wife Chaz listened to aldermen who think that they should have Roger's job and let the mayor know it.
Mayor and I compare movies, and we don't want to tell you some of our favorites, but Pulp Fiction is one of them.
Yes.
I thought the best movie that I've seen in a long, long time was Enemy at the Gates. And the passionate scene between Jude Law and Rachel Weisz. Wow. I mean, well, fantastic. You want to go with me some afternoon?
No way.
Mr. Mayor made a mistake by not taking up Alderman Terrace and going to a movie with him. On one occasion, I went to a movie with him. I took him to see Kingdom of Heaven. And for 2 hours and plus, he sat quietly and didn't say a word.
Turn the film
that's
on.
Unbelievable.
As it turns out, Roger didn't get a word in edgewise, but still he's got a tip for the council.
If I were going to speak, I would tell them that they finally made a good Batman movie, and it was shot in Chicago. And the Board of Trade building is the Wayne building, the Bruce Wayne building in the movie.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the resolution by a thumbs up.
Satisfied?
Not for years.
Okay, let me get this out of the way to begin with. I don't know what's going on with Angelina and Brad, and I don't care. The tabloids have created the foreplay for this movie, and that can happen when a screen team looks this good.
There's this huge space between us, and it just keeps filling up.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith are a radiant but cheerless suburban couple, living lives they even keep secret from each other. They're assassins on call for their next professional hit. Tools of Jane's trade are conveniently stored beneath the oven. An occupational hazard, they end up being hired to knock off each other. It's just business, but harder than they think to pull off.
Now look! We need to talk.
Vince Vaughn turns in another entertaining character role as one of John's cohorts who lives with his mom.
She tried to kill me. How are you going to handle it? I'm going to borrow this.
I like where your head's at.
There's a car chase with Jane behind the wheel and John riding shotgun. A savage confrontation between the killers should have left them both ready for intensive care, but instead the Mortal Kombat arouses them, leading to a sex scene that much of the audience is going to be waiting for. In fact, Jolie says it was choreographed by the stunt director.
You think the story's going to have a happy ending?
Happy endings are just stories that haven't finished yet.
The elaborate action scenes are just the framework for the witty exchanges and sly circling between the Smiths. The body count continues to rise, and the question remains, can this marriage be saved?
Come on, honey. Come to Daddy.
One rumor about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie has proven to be true. They do have enormous chemistry that jumps right off the screen and is more powerful than all the explosions and gunfire thrown into the mix.
Sweetheart.
You still alive, baby?
This is a movie that really basically exists to show us two talented stars whose repartee is in perfect sync. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt look great together. They have a natural rapport, and that's the reason the movie works. So I give Mr. and Mrs. Smith 3 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.
Who's your daddy now?